What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a couple tips and a routine you can do that's really going to help your aim and your gunfights. I've been doing this for a while and making tweaks to it, and it's really helped me out, so I'm hoping it can help y'all out too. If you start all your sessions with at least 10 minutes of this, I promise you'll improve. Alright, let's get into it. So whenever people ask about improving their aim, the response is always hit the firing range of practice, which is true, but before we get to that, there's another simple thing you can work on all the time that's going to really help your aim. Crosshair placement. It's a key point in other shooters like CSGO or Valorant, but I don't think enough people talk about it in Apex. Crosshair placement is all about keeping your crosshair at body or head level. I see a lot of players running around constantly looking at the ground, and when an enemy shows up, they're just not ready. Keeping your crosshair at the correct height means when an enemy shows up, you'll have to aim a lot less to be on target, which means you'll be damaging them a lot sooner. In reality, it's only a few milliseconds, but that's a big difference in a shooter. So how can you practice this? The easiest way I know is to practice looking at things in-game with your aim instead of your eyes. This is the simplest way to make sure you're rounding corners and pushing fights the best way. So in Apex, there are 3 different components of aiming: target acquisition, recoil control, and tracking. Lucky for us, even though the range is kind of lackluster, 2 of these you can completely grind in the firing range, and for the 3rd, there's still some practice you can do in the range that'll really help you. Alright, so for target acquisition, all you need to do, grab a gun that you like, preferably one with like clear sight lines, and go through tapping these targets. Go for accuracy before speed, and speed it up naturally as you progress. Rushing and missing a bunch of targets here isn't going to help you since you're trying to build muscle memory. You want to be able to start having a section all red at the same time. Some pro players can do like the entire row of targets, but I like to stick to just this half. Don't forget to test this with multiple sights like the HCOG, 2X, or the 3X too, and make sure your sensitivity feels good. Recoil control is a similar concept, but I recommend using at least 3 different guns for this. If you don't use enough variety, you'll start to try and control them all the same. I would recommend at least the R99, R301, and the flatline. I think if you master these 3, you'll be at least decent with every other gun. Obviously, if you have a specific gun in mind to master, choose that one too. Now here's where I differentiate from a lot of drills I've seen. Most people just one-clip the dummies, and that's okay. I do that for the R99 and the Volt. Both ARs and light machine guns, I think it's a bit less effective because of the clip size. You get to a point where you one-clip those really quickly, and if you're just shooting for that 200 damage, you won't be practicing recoil for the entire mag. So what I recommend when practicing your recoil control is always emptying your entire clip, dummy or not. This is going to ensure that you can control the entire spray pattern and not just the first half. If shooting at nothing when the dummy disappears is weird to you, just move to a target. This is big because it will help you stay center target, and if you're on controller, there's no aim assist, so it should help you a little bit more. Don't forget to practice strafing while you do this. Long strafes and short. Controller players and mouse and keyboard players should approach this slightly differently. Because of the way aim assist works, very short strafes actually makes recoil control easier for controller in my opinion, so to actually learn the recoil patterns on the roller, you should stand still. But on mouse and keyboard, recoil is extremely easy to control standing still, so it's important that you practice strafing with your shot. Tracking. The biggest tracking help in my opinion in the range is for hip firing. Just hip firing close range and getting used to moving close range in fights is going to help you a whole lot in real games. If you do this consistently, you'll start surprising yourself with your movement in games. It just becomes second nature. There's a few ways to practice tracking in the firing range, but to be honest, for the most part, I think the best practice for this is in-game. If you want a little help in the range though, I like using these smaller middle targets that move. You can also turn on the bots, but I'm not a huge fan of that because they move like bots. The biggest thing here is making sure you're just training your eyes to track the target and not trying to anticipate its direction. The biggest issue people have with their accuracy is over-aiming, so you only want to react, not overcompensate with predicting movement. The most important thing for improving your aim is consistent practice. You don't need a crazy routine with a bunch of unnecessary movement. Keep it simple, warm up, and play the game. That's going to wrap up my guide for improving your aim. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter and Code We Trust. Thanks again for watching. Peace.